It almost feels like the circus when there's like that clown car and it pulls up and it's just this tiny car and like the clowns just keep coming at him.
How long can they keep us in Asteroid City legally?
The world will never be the same.
Drive-by movies, you're watching
Fresh Releases.
My name's Blaze.
And my name is James.
And this week we're talking Wes Anderson's brand new film, Asteroid City.
Junior stargazers and space cadets. Each year we celebrate Asteroid Day, commemorating September 23rd, 3007 BC, when the arid plains meteorite made Earth impact.
Wes Anderson's latest film follows a writer on his world-famous fictional play about a grieving father who travels with his tech-obsessed family to small rural Asteroid City to compete in a junior stargazing event, only to have his worldview disrupted forever. And as always, Wes Anderson just loves to go all out with the crazy visuals, a more peculiar story that's very different. And none of his movies, like, while they have a lot of similarities, they're always pretty different from one another. Like, this one kind of is more of like a sci-fi based film versus like, you know, movies like, well, you know, we all know Wes Anderson movies. But what are your initial thoughts coming out of Asteroid City, Blaze?
So I have to say, this is definitely a film. I feel like as Wes's career prolongs and as he keeps making films, he just keeps kind of narrowing himself further and further into this rabbit hole of Wes Anderson dollhouse, where it seems like the films keep getting more and more complex in a sense and not looking like reality. I mean, obviously, if he started at the beginning of his career, his films still could have been rooted in reality, like Rushmore, Bottle Rocket, of course. And maybe even, I would even, you know, argue, maybe not Life Aquatic, but even like I would argue that Darjeeling Limited still had some elements of reality still in it. But the past couple of films, it seems like we're just kind of narrowing further and further into the dollhouse. And I feel like this film was one where I wasn't really looking forward to it necessarily. And I think I even missed, I actually like Grand Budapest Hotel, but I think I even skipped out on French Dispatch just because I feel like I'm just getting Wes. I guess I'm just kind of getting tired of his movies in a sense that I feel like they're just so specific and so him that it almost gets tiring, where I'm like, damn, it seems like it would be cool to see a new filmmaker pop up that's doing something entirely different, where I feel like we've already got all the stories that Wes is capable of telling. I feel like this one is a little bit different in the sense that this doesn't feel like a Wes movie in the sense of the themes and stuff that he's kind of dealing with. It definitely felt more allegory and metaphor than any of his previous work. So I do feel like my thoughts of thinking that we had seen all of Wes were kind of shattered here, but I still kind of up in the air about what I really thought about this movie, whether I enjoyed it or whether I just kind of experienced it.
I get it. No, I see what you're saying. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and I really wish I saw it in theaters just because I would have really loved seeing the vibrant colors on screen and then going back to the 4:3 black and white sequences. I thought that would have looked great just watching on screen. Because I guess Isle of Dogs was the last movie I saw. I remember HBO Max, or when it was called HBO Max, had a French Dispatch, and I watched that on my phone on an airplane, and I did really enjoy that movie, but I was more like also paying attention to the weird guy who kept like watching the screen whenever like a nudity scene came up, and that creeped me out. I remember I was just like, this guy, like, watch your own movie or something, man. But yeah, with this movie, I really enjoyed it. It did kind of remind me of Apollo 10.5, Richard Linklater's Netflix film, just like the childlike wonder of just like, you know, sci-fi reality with just like, you know, space kind of being like, you know, relatively like just this newer thing, but also, you know, this does go in a more like kind of dorky direction with, you know, aliens being involved, which is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that aspect of the movie, but I see what you're saying, because I enjoyed this movie much more than the French Dispatch. You missed out on it, and I'd say like that's fine missing out on it. Isle of Dogs I was a little disappointed with. I think Grand Budapest Hotel was just like his highest high, even though that's not my favorite Wes Anderson movie. But just, I guess, since it's been since the Darjeeling Limited, I'd say, which was the first Wes Anderson movie I ever saw, where it didn't feel like an ensemble. Like every movie since that movie has been an ensemble movie. I miss like movies like Rushmore and I guess Bottle Rocket. Royal Tenenbaums has a huge cast as well, but just like those movies were much more personal with smaller casts. Like, of course, you would still see big actors and their recognizable faces that Wes Anderson constantly uses, but just he's brought so many new actors within each movie. You don't have to bring every single one. I'd say, like, yeah, they don't all have the biggest role, I guess, within the movie, but just sometimes it gets, I wouldn't say distracting, but just there are a lot of characters to follow. Not as much as this movie compared to The French Dispatch, I thought, but just like I miss when there was like a little bit of a smaller character roles, because in Moonrise Kingdom, that was also an ensemble movie, but overall it focused mainly on the two kids running away. And same thing with a few other movies as well too, but just I guess I miss the smaller aspect despite these movies like being smaller scale movies, but just this one still feels very grand and up there, so at times it felt a little hard to follow.
Yeah, I actually totally agree with what you're saying here. I do feel like we've gotten past, or he's gotten past like the fact of telling a story with interesting characters. We have interesting, almost, you know, like characters, but they're never really focused in. You're never really dialed in to know a character beyond just playing these, you know, very stylistic almost roles where they're just, you know, deadpan delivering lines. And I just, it's the ensemble aspect is honestly killed, like you said. Like I mean I'm gonna go back to, you know, one of his first movies, but it's my favorite, and I really enjoyed Rushmore, just seeing Jason Schwartzman and Bill Murray really dive into those roles, and the roles are super meaty. But when you have a cast of, you know, 40 of Hollywood's A-listers, it just feels like where's there room for anyone to dive in and really discover this role beyond just deadpan delivering lines? Because I feel like Wes's direction is not strong in any sense. Direction and everything in front of the camera, sure, but direction when it comes to directing an actor and performing, you know, a line on how their character would deliver it, you know, diving into that character's past life experiences that aren't really on display in the film, but, you know, make up that character as a whole. So in a sense, I mean, the artistry, the cinematography, everything is really at its height here in this movie. Like he's doing crazy camera work and stuff that you could really only see from Wes Anderson. But when it comes to like his direction of acting, I feel like it's really lacking the more and more you get an ensemble cast. And what are we going to have, an 80-person ensemble cast in his next movie? Because he has to bring everyone along. It's just getting like almost comical in a sense. It almost feels like the circus when there's like that clown car and it pulls up and it's just this tiny car and like the clowns just keep coming out of it, and you're just like, okay, I'm well aware that there's a, you know, a manhole below it that the clowns are coming out. There weren't any clowns in the actual car itself. You know, the magic trick, but you know, it just keeps going on and on and on. But I just, yeah, that's something I forgot to mention, but yeah, you really nailed it there. That like, dude, the ensembleness is kind of killing that Wes Anderson vibe, the one that I fell in love with, of like these interesting characters. I mean, essentially that's why we watch movies as well, is we really like different characters and different directions in which you could take it. But I feel like that's almost where I lose the excitement of a new Wes Anderson movie, is like I kind of already know what his character kind of acts like. You know, of course we're going to get to see some new actors play those types of characters, but at the end of the day, it just feels like the art house Marvel movie. You have this huge cast of you know, everyone knows all these big actors, and you get to see them in, you know, a little performance here in this ensemble cast, but it just feels kind of like that high school party where everyone got invited to, and you're just there on the outside watching. Right,
exactly, yeah. And it's really rare to see all these actors come together. Like, I love that all these actors are willing to work for no money just to be in a Wes Anderson movie. There's not a lot of filmmakers that get that recognition where they will take no salary just to be in their movie. Because this movie, I believe, was made for $25 million, which sounds like a lot. But, you know, when you put all these actors, if they were in a mainstream movie, that would be a lot of money. But just like, it's great to see that Wes Anderson is still that kind of filmmaker. Like, there's not a lot of filmmakers. I'd say it's just really Quentin Tarantino, Christopher Nolan, Martin Scorsese that can like really, I'd say Greta Gerwig's on her way to being that director too, where just a lot of people want to be, they'll work for no salary to be in their movies and stuff. So it's cool to see, but just, you know, I hate saying distracting because a lot of these characters give it their all. Like I love watching Jason Schwartzman as the lead character within this movie, but just, you know, at times, like I'm not saying this is the movie that did it, but that's been a Wes Anderson-ism for me where it's just like, well, let's narrow down the story a little bit. We don't need this crazy ensemble cast for all these like little small roles and stuff. Just stretch out the plot, because that's what it kind of felt like within this movie, despite me still really enjoying it though.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. So something I wanted to mention was just the aspect of this film's like told. I mean, it opens up, like you said, with the black and white 4:3, and there's like this, they're saying that basically Asteroid City is essentially a play. So this is, I guess, essentially has the trope of being like a movie within a movie, essentially. Do you feel like, I know that's the way that Wes wanted to tell this story, but did that add anything extra to the movie for you, or like what was your thoughts on that? Because that was something for me where I felt like I just didn't, for some reason it just didn't work for me at all.
I was fine with it, but it just felt like an excuse also to kind of just bring in more of Wes's friends. Like Adrian Brody isn't within the, like Margot Robbie and Jason Schwartzman played the same roles within the play versus within the actual like televised play too. So, you know, like it's not necessary. It would have been cool and interesting, but he already did the same thing in Grand Budapest Hotel. Like, I forget, the movie starts off with the girl reading a book, and then it's about the writer reminiscing about his young life meeting the old bellboy now that he's the owner of the Grand Budapest Hotel. So, you know, that was like a story within a story within a story. And, you know, we kind of get the same thing here. It was fun and clever within that just because it felt like a new Wes Anderson joke. But yeah, I agree. Like, it wasn't really necessary. It didn't really add anything to this. It just felt like, oh, let's bring in Willem Dafoe and Adrian Brody into it because we can't fit them into the actual play line story of Asteroid City.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think of it in that aspect. I guess just for me, I was just like wondering, like, why do we just tell us the story, man? I don't know. Usually I like that kind of, you know, meta stuff, but for this one, I just felt like it was more annoying at parts, especially with the like inner titles, like this scene. I just felt like it was just adding, like padding the runtime, and the runtime wasn't that long. I think it was like 145. So even then, I'm like, why do we need to pad this thing out? It just felt like, I don't know. I like you said, we'd seen that before in some of his other work. It just didn't really add that much for me. Maybe on a second viewing, I'll feel different because I usually do like those meta kind of pieces. But at least for this first viewing, it just didn't work for me.
Yeah. I mean, this one isn't like one that I'm in a hurry to rewatch. Sounds like we're trashing it, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's the best Wes Anderson movie since Grand Budapest Hotel. But again, though, like we've seen Wes Anderson at his best. My personal favorite's Moonrise Kingdom, which is probably not anyone's favorite, I'd say, actually.
I'd say that's probably like second or third for me. So it's up there for me. I really like Moonrise Kingdom.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a lot of people's favorite too, but like, you know, if most people are probably going to choose, you know, Royal Tenenbaums or Grand Budapest Hotel, but you know, I liked this one as a return to form, but I just wanted to talk about some of the things we're getting annoyed with, I guess. I'd say, you know, a great way to help support the show is by renting it through our Amazon affiliate link. Please do that. That helps support the show as well as leaving a comment, but see it in theaters if it's playing near you, because it's probably a lot more easier and more digestible in theaters, I feel like.
Most definitely. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all latest updates.
If you can't get enough of us here on YouTube, be sure to catch all our social media links down below. We got Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We also got our own Letterboxd accounts. So that'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.